On tonight's program, we are back to working in the Foundry.
I have a mission that's really almost ready to publish.
We talk about the summer event and what it could mean.
I jumped in, ignoring all of the people yelling at each other, and suggested that we be allowed to designate maps to use jetpacks on in the Foundry.
And mission reviews. We're finally back in the swing of things.
And the whole idea is I'm flying up away from the planet, and he did it in a way that was really wonderful and really badass.
Join us on the Foundry Roundtable.
Hello and welcome to episode 21 of the Foundry Roundtable, the podcast exclusively dedicated to the Foundry for Star Trek Online. I'm your tame Foundry author, Drogan1701. With me is Hippiejohn, who, as far as I know, has never been the target of an expletive-filled rant from Alec Baldwin.
That is true.
Oh, good to hear it. And Greendragoon, who may or may not be responsible for the Texas legislature filibuster.
Not touching that one.
Good policy. And we have with us prolific Foundry author, RogueEnterprise, someone we've been trying to get on the show for quite a while. Welcome.
Hello, thank you.
And welcome back, Bazag.
Hello, everyone.
You're just everywhere these days, Baz.
Yep. Hey, then don't you love me for it? Oh, maybe not.
But I'm going to plead the fifth on that one.
Yes.
And we start tonight with a bit of a good news, bad news situation. Good news, Foundry editing is back. Bad news, people are experiencing like a metric ton of problems. We got load times for previewing maps that are anywhere from like 5 to 10 minutes. We got people being kicked from the server for unknown reasons while trying to log into a project. There's some folks who can't even create a Foundry text character. Frost tells us these things are being worked on by, and I quote, top men.
And in fairness, these are all problems that were not discovered until after editing was opened.
There was no way we could, really. And they were not.
There would have been no way to know this.
And they were not present on Tribble.
Right.
Because I tested Tribble. They were not there.
Well, there are other problems besides just those two, more specifically with some of the missions that have been republished.
Well, and we had a night where publishing was not working at all, but that seems to be okay now. I think it was just some server-side stuff on Cryptic Send.
Speaking of which, I've noticed something interesting lately. Did you guys notice that when the Foundry editing went down, that Neverwinter went down at the same time?
Neverwinter Foundry or the whole game?
Neverwinter Foundry.
Really? Are we on the same server as them?
I'm wondering if there isn't...
Or is it another like shared login server?
Maybe.
Is it?
I'm wondering if there isn't some shared hardware there.
It's certainly possible.
Which,
yeah, well, I mean, they're both the Foundries, but, I think it'd be a bit hard to run the same but different software, on the same...
Well, all just speculation.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But, I guess overall, I mean, there's not really all that much we can do right now except wait. And, wait for the fixes to come through.
And they will. I think they will. I mean, it's
sadly not in last Thursday's patch, but,
right.
For next week. But the Foundry being back doesn't mean we can get back to our regular segments. So let's start off with what we've been working on. Greendragoon, start us off.
Well, there once was this sequel I was supposed to be working on. And this week I finally got back in after I went and fixed all the bugs in part 1. So that is back up and running and thankfully playable again.
What sort of things did you have to fix?
The big one was related to that puzzle on the Persephone. Apparently the interaction was too far back, and it was preventing player from being able to trigger it through the force field, or you just had to be like in the perfect spot in order to get it. So I had to adjust that, make it so players could finish that yet. But other than that, I started working again on part 2. It's been very slow going. Because I'm working on a map that's very, I don't want to say exposition heavy, but tech exposition heavy. I'm a little concerned at the moment it's a tad dry, but I just want to get it in there and then try and worry about flow.
Technobab is a bit of a challenge, isn't it?
It is. You're basically repairing this runabout, and it's doing all these things related to fixing this, fixing that. Trying to put enough in there to make it interesting and believable, but at the same time not trying to bog it down.
Right.
It seems like in this part you have a lot of stuff to fix.
There are websites for, random, like Star Trek Technobabble, deionize the magnetic coupler, just 3 words, random words together that you can just...
Oh, you should see my copy of, the TNG technical manual. I mean, it is completely dog-eared. I think the top corner of the cover is there's a section missing of it. The first 50 pages are all, folded forward.
Just don't forget to reverse the polarity every few minutes.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to bounce a graviton particle beam off the main deflector dish.
Yeah, there's got to be some neutron flow in there somewhere as well.
Yeah.
The EPS conduits will explode just for no reason.
Hey, I made a wormhole out of nothing. I think I can handle it.
Awesome. Well, Hippie, what have you been working on?
A lot. I have a mission that's really almost ready to publish. I am, at this point, what I've been doing is the Romulan KDF mission. It's very specific. It's not aimed at Romulans in general. It is very specifically aimed at a Romulan with a KDF ally. And as soon as I was working on it and working on maps for it when the Foundry went down. I was working on having, I had all of the NPCs more or less ready to go, and then of course when the Foundry came back up, I got in there first day and just started plugging away at these maps and such, and we had the ability to use Romulan head ridges on aliens now and things like that, so things look a little bit better.
Do we really?
Yes. The alien creator now has all of the Romulan head ridge options in it.
Oh, that is fantastic.
Yeah, there's that, and that's what I've been working on. And once I got back into the Foundry, it only took me a couple of days I don't have the maps completely finished and polished, but I have all of the big sets and everything. They're all placed on the map so that I've been able to start bringing that story that I had scripted over into it and putting it in place and making triggers where they have to be, that kind of thing. But it's pretty close to ready to go. I'm looking forward to getting it published because it's going to be one of the first Romulan missions. I'm happy with that. I don't care if it's the first one. I don't think it is. I think there are others out there that already
I haven't seen any advertised.
Neither have I, but they're probably
out.
It's not saying that they're not out there. So, that's what I've been working on, is strictly that, really. I also just kind of walked back through, once the Foundry came back up, the mission that I did for that Make a Mission in 28 Hours challenge. And I'll probably have that one ready to republish, tomorrow if I sat down and worked on it tonight. There's not a lot to be done, just a little bit of dialogue change and things like that. So. But that's what I've been working on, is a KDF Romulan mission that I'm having a lot of fun with. I don't have a name for it yet. That's the hardest part, I think. The name that inspired it doesn't fit it anymore, so.
Well, we'll look forward to hearing when you publish it.
Hopefully soon.
Awesome. Well, and I think something you brought up there, we could probably call a Foundry Roundtable exclusive, because as far as I know, nobody has ever said anywhere that all the Romulan options are in the Alien Character Creator.
I don't know if all of them are in there. I'm not going to say that. Yes, some are. I'm not going to say that, for example, all of the costume options are. Some of them are. I didn't, and certainly I know a lot of them aren't. I've not seen, any of the Romulan Republic specific uniforms or things like that. But there are some of the civilian clothes and some of the civilian belts. So at random, there's a few things in there that we didn't have before.
Very cool. All right, Baz, have you been working on any Foundry missions?
Unfortunately not. I'm still got my, heroes and villains that I want to do, but I've got to actually get in and do that. I've Baz has been a slack Baz.
Slack Baz.
All right, Rogue Enterprise, you've been working on anything?
Yeah. So, I haven't published a mission in several months. Actually, I made that Klingon one recently, which I think Hippie you talked about, which Hippie really loves for some reason.
Very good reviews.
But I left it alone for a while. I just started working on one again, a Fed mission. I got an idea for it, and I usually when I make missions, they have some kind of hook or some kind of catch or something that's interesting about it. But this time I went a little bit more plot focused. So it might be one of those really boring, like, text-based missions. But it's one of those things where, the idea is in my head and I have to get it out. So I actually haven't even started it in the editor yet. It's all in a Word file, which is really unusual for me. Usually I'll just just start building a map and then I start building the plot when I'm like halfway done with the first map. But yeah, so that's kind of in the concept phase, taking a lot of brain power this time for some reason, but it's in progress.
Were you writing it during the downtime?
No. In fact, the motivation came to me when the editor came back up, and I'm like, oh, I can finally start on this if I actually had a plot to write on. So yeah, the motivation didn't come back until the Foundry editor came back.
Well, I've been working on trying to get all the dialogue that I did write during the downtime into my mission. This is the Major Recall mission. I'm calling it Sympathy for the Devil, after the old Rolling Stones song. And I've been sort of going through because I had all the maps in place, not built exactly, but all the maps, the base maps laid down, and so I can go in and rough in objectives, put down a few enemies here and there, and so am able to now paste in all the dialogue. Which hopefully, because I wrote it in a Word editor which had spell check, hopefully I will be able to have at least good spelling. I don't know about good grammar, but good spelling anyway. So that's where I'm at. I've got about, maybe half of the mission dialogue in there, but most of it is written. The only unfortunate thing is that I don't have those log entries that I talked about a few episodes ago written yet, so I will need to finish those up before I can really finish the mission. And there's some fairly complicated custom builds I still have to finish, including my crashed, half-flooded space station, which has a lot of walls up, but no ceilings and very few interior objects just yet. The other one is the map within a map transition that I'm going to try. I still need to figure out if the Cardassian map that I chose, which is the Ministry of whatever, is big enough to build a Federation map inside it that I can just spawn when I'm ready to do the transition.
Ministry of Culture, by the way.
Ministry of Culture, thank you very much. Now, the other thing I'm trying to do with this mission is not have any space-to-space transitions. I'm going to do it all within map. So you start off in one star system, you do whatever you need to do there, then you go to a certain point in space, it hits the warp stars, start going, you travel through those to another point, and, hit an interact, stars go away, you're in another system. I think people will appreciate it if you cut down on map transitions.
Definitely.
Because they're not quick. Let's just say that. They're not quick.
Especially, now.
Alright, well, let's start with mission reviews. Hippiejohn, what you got? Do you walk away from the computer?
I bet he's muted himself. I've done that.
Not realized it.
I have muted myself and not realized it. Yeah, I got really inspired when the Foundry came back up, not just to work on missions, but I went and made postings the first day that it came back up, the first or second day that it was back up, that said, hey people, I prefer to play a mission that's under an hour. I prefer to play KDF missions. It doesn't mean that I won't play your 4-hour long 8-part Fed mission. It just means that I would prefer to play a Klingon mission, etc. And I've got 17 missions that people have put into those threads at this point. So, today I went ahead and said some of these missions that people sent me are Fed missions. So I'm going to go ahead and play a couple of those. And this week I played 2 Fed missions. The first one we'll talk about was a really short mission called Diplomatic Disturbances. The @handle of the author was SM12905. And the mission in the description is touted as totally non-combat. You never have to leave Earth space dock. It's a humorous mission. And it is. I mean, it's just not, it wasn't my style of humor. So that part of it kind of fell flat on me, and there's a thing that you need to do when you're running around a social map that I've seen a couple of people do. I've seen people do it right, and I've seen people do it wrong. And that is the fact that the contacts on social maps are often very spread out, and the different contacts and the different interactable objects, it's best to put the flow of your story in such a way that as they run they go object to object, and they don't have to go in one direction, turn around, go back the other direction, run all the way across the station. And that happened a lot in this mission, which kind of made it feel a little bit tedious. But overall, it's exactly what it expresses to be. It's a quick little run around Earth space dock, interact with a bunch of things in there, do this kind of interesting little mission with some there's certainly some jokes in there that will hit some people's funny bones. They didn't hit mine really, so I wasn't finding it to be super humorous. Overall, like I say, it does exactly what it says it's going to do. It's a short 10 to 15 minute mission, maybe even a little bit more than that, but not to my knowledge, that you just run around and interact with things. It qualifies for the daily, with very little playtime. So certainly some work went into it, and I think what I see is it looks like, I don't know the author. I've never seen any of his missions before this one, but he has 2 that are published that are both listed as being the same sort of thing. So it feels like an author who's getting used to using the tools of the Foundry and the interacts and things like that. And I hope that just because it didn't tickle my funny bone doesn't mean that it was a bad story or that it wasn't, fun. I'd like to see this author continue to learn more things that the Foundry can do. You look at some of the videos that teach some of the basics like triggers and custom map building, and I'd like to see what they can do when they learn a little bit more of the tricks the Foundry can do. That this mission doesn't show is really it. That, like I said, was a quick mission. I also reviewed Realm Time 82's first mission. He was on our show a little bit ago, and his first mission was Rescue 101, which was written for the do a mission in 1 day challenge. And really what I have is kind of a stream of consciousness, bunch of really interesting notes on the mission, and I'm just going to kind of go through them because that's the easiest way. And I really want to just start it. If we could get a sound clip of war, what is it good for? Because that's as soon as I was reading the mission description, that's kind of where it took me. It's about the war between the Federations and the Klingons, and it's touted as a simple escort mission. And as soon as I started to read the mission giver dialogue, a simple escort mission, my ass. The very idea behind the mission is that I'm escorting the ambassador, which is, according to every bit of what I've seen, according to all advertisements, this ambassador is about to end the Klingon war and make peace with the KDF. That alone makes this escort mission anything but simple. Once you get it started, right away you're tossed in with you and another Federation warship that's taking on people that are attacking the escort. So right from the get-go, the mission is not simple. Of course, that's kind of the idea. Is, it's supposed to be just an escort mission that things go, weird and wrong, but it just feels like what I'm doing, who I'm escorting, is more important than a quote-unquote simple mission. But that's okay because I hate simple. So as I'm playing through the mission, I meet another captain who I'll talk more about later. But right after it's the captain of the other warship, and right after we have a conversation about what's happening and how the escort mission is going to go, he just gives me his first officer with no prompting. And my only thought at that moment was she had better be important somehow, because that's all I'm saying. She's got to be important if you're going to just give her to me. So then I'm off on the mission where I've got to go to Drozana Station and talk to a bunch of Ferengi, and this was interesting. I'm a freaking Starfleet officer here, and through the choices that I made, I end up helping a Ferengi commit massive fraud that is meant to get an innocent person sent to the prisons at Rurapente. I avoided there were two options here. I avoided this. My character's not a do this or I'll beat ya kind of thing. So I avoided the intimidate and rough them up kind of option. And once I avoided that option and I realized that the other option was I'm gonna end up, the only way to progress was to help this Ferengi commit fraud. And I found myself wishing for an option where my intimidate didn't have to be like a physically threatening intimidate, where it could be, I'm a Starfleet admiral or captain or whatever level I am. I can walk away and not file any reports. Now tell me what I want to know. That kind of thing would have been a nice third option there. That's all. And what happens once you start talking to the Ferengi and once you help him, he makes a deal with you. Help me do this thing, I'll give you some information. This is a Ferengi. I help him do this thing, he gives me some information, and then he starts just offering more information to me for no charge. And throughout the next little part there, I kind of felt myself going, why are these Ferengi being so helpful and not wanting anything in return? That was a thing that kind of, I didn't know how I felt about it, and I still don't. But there was a touch here as you were talking to them, and you could turn someone in that would save a bunch of people. So you get to do a good thing following this choice, and you get this little built-in accolade depending on the choices you made. The one I got was that it called me a hero. So what it ended up making me feel like was that this terrible choice that I made to help this Ferengi send an innocent man to prison, to Rurapente, no less, ends up getting me the accolade of hero of the Romulan people or something, and I'm like, whoa, yeah! I do a terrible thing and I'm a hero. To get to this point where I said the first officer that the other captain gives me better be important. What she ends up doing is giving me all of the reports that come from my ship, and as we're scanning things and where it's not appropriate for my science officer or whatever. Basically, that character ends up filling the role of what my first officer would be, which conceptually I really, really like the idea, but I end up at the earlier points in the story feeling, when she's first with you, feeling like I want something more than the Sigourney Weaver repeating and giving you reports character from Galaxy Quest. And this is where the mission starts to get really good.
I have one job on this ship. It's stupid, but I'm going to do it.
I'm going to do it. So the mission gets really good here because this is where he kind of impressed me with, I got this feeling that I'm chasing something or someone, go play the mission and find out, across the neutral zone. And it was just a really good sense of, I've gone here, found, so the whole chase across to catch up to where I'm going felt very good. And then when I get to where I'm going to beam down, this Commander Evans, that this is the woman, the commander that was given to me, just pops up and informs me that she's going to command my ship while the away team is gone. No. That's what I wrote down in here. My stream of consciousness was no. That's my damn decision, not hers. Make it my dialogue. I'd still be pissed about not having the choice to leave my first officer or one of my officers in charge. But if the dialogue came from me, at least I would have been the one that was making the decision to do it. You know, I of course would still feel like I wanted to be able to make a different decision, but at least if you put the dialogue in my mouth, the captain is the one making the decision who stays in command of his ship, not the visiting first officer from another ship. She's a visiting glorified version of Commander Shelby, and I freaking hated her. But that's okay, don't worry, because I really hated Shelby too. And it was at that point when I realized how much I hated this character that I realized I guess I had gotten the quote unquote more from this character that I was looking for. And then what I can also say is once we get to these maps that he's been building, what you're talking about doing, Drogon, with the going into having a space map where you hit some warp stars, they warp around you, you move to another spot, things despawn, respawn. Relum does a lot of this stuff in what he does, and all I can say is good map work is good map work. And this is good map work, plain and simple. It makes the mission, the map work here helps make the mission. Everything that just kind of treated me the wrong way or whatever, like not understanding why the Ferengi were helping me, none of that, it still affects the way I think about the mission overall, but the map work is really, really good. That's all I want to say about it, both on the ground and in space. When I arrived on the ground, there's a question of what faction are you a part of? Are you Federation or are you Romulan? And I liked the fact that the question was there, but I didn't see how it affected what happened necessarily. There was one dialogue that maybe I got through the dialogue too fast and I just missed it. And I'm sorry if I just missed it, Relum, when you listen to this, but I liked the choice, but I didn't see where it made a difference. And, the Klingon, basically I'm disabling a bunch of things in an outdoor setting, and every couple of times or at a couple of points when I disable them, I get a bunch of Klingons that spawn that come to take care of me and, you know, take care of everything that I've been doing and kill me or whatever. And what I found myself wanting was all of a sudden I'm out there in the middle of nowhere and I've got Klingon warriors and like a war party coming, when I felt like what would be being sent out would have been a repair team. And it would have, in that case, I would almost simply just not even reskin anything about the mobs. They're just Klingons. But go and rename them to maybe repair team for the ones that are beaming out to the area outside. It's just a thought. Not that big of a deal. Again, like I said, there's a lot of creative use of the tech that the Foundry has in this map. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of good ground combat that I enjoyed a great deal. I enjoyed the space combat too, but I enjoyed ground combat a lot. And I reach a point on the ground map where it's something that I would do if I had built a thing on my map that would do this, where I'm going to be going across a bridge that leads me from the top of one building to the top of another building. And if I fall off of that bridge, there's no way to get back to the start of that bridge. And so before I go out there, there's this big yellow text warning, you know, danger, danger, do not fall off of the bridge. You will have to beam out and restart the whole map and all of that. And I get it. And I'm glad that with the map built the way that it is, that it's there. But my suggestion would be save yourself from idiots like me who want to go and jump off the bridge just to see what happens. Put up invisible walls. Just put them there. And if you do have to get a story warning like that in there, see if you can find a way to work it into the dialogue or into one of the computer reports. That really would be about it. Once I get back to a shuttle that I'm supposed to be leaving the planet with, once again I find myself just hating that first officer from another ship because she's making reports, and at this point I'm just mad that it's not my first officer who's still on my ship, not in command for some reason. What Relum did is he built a space map that was full of full of effects that made me feel like I was flying through a cloud. And the whole idea is I'm flying up away from the planet, and he did it in a way that was really wonderful and really badass. And that is what I want to say about the mission overall, because that's very close to the end. That's right where that's where I would stop saying anything more about the mission and what happens in it. But the mission is really super fun, and I realized as I got toward the end of it that the little things that bothered me at the beginning, they're still there. They still make me say, it's not quite the way I envision a Ferengi, or why is this visiting officer taking over my ship? All of those things, they're not in any way overwhelming, and so the mission remains a really entertaining, really fun romp, fun way to spend. I think it took me about 40 or 45 minutes to run through the entire thing. And regarding that choice of putting that first officer on my ship, I really liked the choice to do it, even though I ended up hating with a passion the character, as much as I hated Shelby when I saw The Best of Both Worlds. She was able to make reports and confer story exposition, and she was able to do it in a way that provided a little bit of character, in that way that when we're writing dialogue for a player's own bots that we can't do. So it made those reports more interesting, and so conceptually I really liked her. And if you didn't want me to hate her, I'm sorry that I did.
So Hippie,
really
when you played the mission, I mean, Shelby in that episode was written to be hated. So
yes.
Is the character written in this mission to be hated, or is it just a plot device?
I
haven't played it, by the way, clearly.
I don't know. I don't know whether he wrote her to be hated. It's a female blonde commander who reminded me from the minute she appeared on screen, as you're telling me that I've got this specialist coming on board to help me deal with the situation. Having this female blonde commander forced on me immediately took my mind anyway to Shelby, which may have made me dislike this commander even more, because, as you say, the episode Best of Both Worlds was written so that you would not like Shelby. So
it's written so you wouldn't like her initially. I mean, she's a foil for Riker. She's everything that Riker is not currently.
Right.
But you end up on
her side. Right. Which I didn't get.
You follow Riker through that.
I did not, but
that's not the purpose of this particular one.
There are two more missions in this series. There's Rescue 102 and Rescue 103 that I have not played. So it could very well be that there's an arc for the character of Commander Evans that I haven't followed yet. The last thing I would say is I'm by no means an expert on the Borg or the way that liberated Borg work, or I always have this kind of picture in my mind of the way that they're even once mostly fully reintegrated, there's still this kind of distance and quirkiness and oddness about them. Even late season 7 of 9 still had a quirkiness and oddness and social awkwardness and inabilities, and
it depends on who it is and how long.
It depends on who it is, and so that's why I certainly didn't make any thoughts about whether this made the mission better or worse. The two of the other characters that you deal with in this mission are Borg, or rather are liberated Borg, and some of their dialogue just doesn't feel like a liberated Borg to me, but again, I think they're so dependent on the individual that they felt far too comfortable in their own skins, if that makes sense. And
not like someone who had witnessed
like someone who had experienced the loss of identity at any point. I think someone who experienced the loss of identity it just didn't feel right. That's all I can say about it there. But overall, I would give this, who's got two thumbs and is pointing them right up toward the sky, that'd be me. This mission was made in under 24 hours or under 28 hours, however long it was. And it's got some incredibly beautiful map work. And it's got a really, really cohesive, fun story. It was a great way to spend my time, and it was, as far as I know, Relum's very first mission. So I would just say kudos, 2 thumbs, way up, certainly worth playing. That's my review.
I think it's interesting that he was able to make you have a reaction to a character.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even that you hated it is still a great compliment, is that, it elicited a reaction.
It did. I didn't want her on my ship. I wanted to airlock her. So
nice. Well, I reviewed a mission by Chooch99. It's called Golems. Chooch had asked me to review one of his missions during the downtime. It was once everything was back up, but everything was still broken. And so I put it off, and in the intervening time, I had forgotten which mission he asked me to review. So I just kind of opened up and searched for his author name and picked one. And it ended up being a little bit of a blast from the past, because this mission was created during one of the very earliest Foundry challenges, one of Brandflake's challenges. It's where you have, it had to involve Risa, and it had to involve a race of aliens called the Stallonians, referencing Dan Stahl.
That was like the first contest.
It might have been the very first, because it was a little bit less serious than a lot of the rest of them have been. And so what Chooch did is, you're hailed by this shuttlecraft, which is carrying a couple of these Stallonians, which he's created out of the alien creator. They're sort of goofy looking, they're gray skinned, and they have all those kinds of tentacles and stuff on them, on their faces. He's created a huge, backstory to these Stallonians, which they have 12 lives. They have a certain biological implant in them that will regenerate their cells and essentially bring them back to life, but only 12 times.
That sounds familiar.
And the older of these, who is an ambassador going to a peace conference with the Klingons on Risa, he's on his 12th life. So if he dies, that's it. And the other guy, the shuttle pilot, is on his second life. So the shuttle has trouble, it's sabotaged, and it is going down on Risa. You have to intercept it. First you intercept it and try and fix it en route before it gets to Risa, but that doesn't work. It goes into the atmosphere with you on it. And one of the interesting things he does here is, does some of it with just in dialogue. You sit there with your ship and there's the shuttle, and then it says beam to the shuttle, and then it just says in orange text, you beam to the shuttle, and then, you attempt to do these repairs all in dialogue, which is an interesting choice. And I don't know, maybe he might have done it to save time. He might have thought that, because we don't have a shuttle cockpit in the Foundry. I mean, there is one in game, which is really nice looking, but we don't have it in the Foundry. So he'd have had to build his own. Maybe he didn't want to do that. So, that's the alternative, is to do it all in dialogue, and that's fine. But in any case, you are on this shuttle when it goes to the surface. And in midair, you do this technobabble thing, and he does a funny thing with technobabble. At one point, one of your officers says, "Sir," the Stallonian, he starts to question you, and the officer says, "Sir, we're Starfleet officers. Technobabble is what we do."
You're breaking the fourth wall!
But what it is you modify your shields to essentially create a sort of makeshift, your own personal shields, to do a makeshift parachute. And so you go down and you start off on this, standing on top of a shuttle asset with the Stallonian ambassador, and then he disappears the shuttle under you. And so you fall, and of course, because the player never dies, no matter how big the fall is.
Yeah.
So you fall, and he's created that explanation for why you don't die, which is pretty nice, I thought. And then, so everybody's safe on the surface, and then you talk to him, you try and figure out, what the sabotage was. And then you finally make it to this peace conference, which is, and I can't remember the name of the map, but it's one of the nicer looking interior maps. Has multiple levels. You go and this is on Risa, of course. So there's a fair amount of you might call it pseudo-sexual humor, with lots of references to Jamaharan and Horgons, and the ambassador starts getting it on with this woman behind closed doors. So you don't, not that we can show anything, but you wouldn't see anything anyway. Right. And then he ends up murdered somehow, and it all revolves around this an attack by these sentient machines that are from way in the past, and are returning. Instead of being like the Borg and wanting to assimilate everything, they just want to destroy everything. And he did something real clever, which I've never found a use for this, is he reskinned enemies as those props that we can have. In this case, some of the Borg props, there's the little, the thing from Cure Ground that you have to remodulate.
The interlinked nodes.
Yeah, the interlinked nodes, and then there's the diamond-shaped one. And he reskinned enemies as those, so those are moving around like they're machines coming at you. I mean, obviously they're not animated, but it's still pretty cool. I thought a cool way to use that, and I've honestly never found a reason to use that. Mm-hmm. But I thought it was pretty
a couple of missions that have done that.
Because it's weird to see like consoles coming at you, moving around. But and it kind of ended there. But overall, I thought it was a fun mission. It was lots of very tongue-in-cheek humor, which I really appreciated. I got a kick out of it. And so I would recommend it to anyone who would like a good laugh. This, I don't know, maybe it'd be more to your humor liking than the other mission you played, Hippie.
Could be. I'm gonna try the guy's other one. Mm-hmm. It's like, not like it took a super long time or anything, and it was...
Let's see, map construction was fairly good. He didn't do a lot of very complicated stuff, but, a lot of the, contest entries, you're gonna find that where people want to go fast, and so they don't necessarily want to bite off more than they can chew, which I completely understand, because I did that to myself and was scrambling up to the last minute to try and finish it when I was in the last, one and didn't really even finish it properly. So, the plot was fun, and I thought it was really a very short mission, but also qualified for rewards if that's your thing. So, I recommend playing it, and I want to try more of Chuch's missions. He's got a lot of, 2 and 3 part series. So, I think, I'll definitely be playing a few more of his. Okay, well, Greendragoon, you've got a topic. Start us off.
So, something that, I should say, it's been kind of simmering around on the, Foundry forums lately, and it kind of, bubbled up again recently with, discussion about the, new weighting system. And it was argued that the new weighting system doesn't, or harms new authors, or doesn't give them a chance to pop up to the top, as you say. And so I kind of got to talking to some of them, and was kind of trying to make the argument that, popping up to the top really isn't the best way to get your Foundry mission out there. I mean, yeah, it might get a couple of plays, but really, I mean, it's usually a short-lived thing, unless your mission just happens to be, totally awesome. So, but I mean, there do seem to be quite a few new authors who are frustrated that they can't seem to get any plays, and in fact, a few of them are missions that we've reviewed here on the show. So, I was kind of wanted to throw out to you guys, and I thought we'd start it off by asking, what was your first published Foundry mission experience? When you built your first mission, set it out there, hit the publish button, it went live. What was your experience?
Well, first of all, the review system isn't even re-enabled yet, is it?
No, not currently. But
okay.
This was more hypothetical discussion.
Oh, got it.
Okay, so yeah, obviously nobody can, if they publish something right now, nobody can get the 5 plays to get out
might
of.
Damper the new authors.
Yeah.
Just a little.
But in general.
But yeah, I mean, the weighting system is designed to keep new missions from going to the top of the top-rated list.
Mm-hmm. I guess, and of course I think the argument that was made about that is, you don't want a mission published that's like nothing, that's just, a little one-click somewhere, and, somebody has a couple of their friends 5-star and it goes way to the top of the list.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen griefers who will just make junk missions that probably have nothing in them, and then just get a bunch of fleet mates to 5-star a bunch of them, and then just basically it's like scattershots the top-rated list.
Well, I can tell you about my experience, because my experience was and probably Baz and Rogue will sympathize, because my first mission was published way back when the Foundry was on Tribble. And of course there was a lot lower player base there. There was, the community of authors playing each other's missions, most of the time anyway, if you could beg them to try it. So, it was a struggle to get plays back then. It was a struggle to get feedback. And, in many ways, I think probably new authors face the same struggle now because of a different reason, which is because of the oversaturation of Foundry missions, because there's just, a million of them. Probably not a million, probably, several 100,000 at the very least. So, I don't know. Before we get onto solutions, why don't we hear from the other guys? I mean, I think I had a better experience when my missions went live on Holodeck, because they were some of the first missions up there. I mean, not the first, but some of the first. And they got a lot of plays that way. But, I don't know. What do the rest of you guys think about your first missions? What was your experience like?
I suppose, even now, I think it is a bit hard to get missions. I think, apart from my, spotlight, I think, 300, I think, is the most, reviews I've had on a mission. So that's, I think, is on my oldest mission, the first mission that I have made. So it's always been a struggle, I think, to get people just to realize, to know, and to try, the missions that are out there.
Even if you're an established Foundry author.
Mm.
Even if you're active in the community, that doesn't necessarily equal plays. And as we know, even if you get a review on the Foundry Roundtable, that doesn't equal a whole lot of people going out to play your mission. I mean,
we have more.
We'd love it if it did, but
we have more listeners.
This is true. I don't know, Rogue. What was your first mission?
So my first mission was a Section 31 mission, and I actually had kind of a unique experience because when I initially started, I had no idea if it was good or not. So I took to Sector Space Chat, and totally by chance, it got picked up by a host of Podcast UGC, Raha, and so he, got on his show and got a few plays that way. So kind of an atypical experience. But, as I can totally understand the problem new authors have, because, I just recently went to Neverwinter, and published a quest on there, and there it's like much busier than the STO forums, especially in the Foundry section. So people are, fighting tooth and nail just to get reviews. So, and I had to, I jumped on there and did some review trading, but after that, just nothing. So I can totally understand people not, being able to get plays on, newly created missions. But, I mean, that being said, that you can't just, like I've said on other podcasts and stuff, I'm sure you guys have said too, like you can't create, quests in the hopes of becoming, the next internet sensation or something. You have to do it for you, because you like it and you think that, you can jump on with other enthusiasts and get appreciated. You can't do it for internet fame on the cryptic servers.
do it for that one great review rather than 50,000 great reviews.
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I've always thought. Anytime I see one person who just really loved it, I thought, okay, that's a success. I don't care if I get another one of those. It's a success as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like even on the forums the other day, I forget who was posting on there with me, but just some random dude just posted in one of the threads and says, "Hey guys, you clearly know Star Trek, you make great missions, I love playing it." And I quoted it and I was like, this is why I continue to make missions, because of guys like that. It doesn't have to be a lot of play. It's great when I get plays, and the strategy for getting plays can be, you have to fight to get plays, jump on the forums. I can guarantee you, if you try and you jump on the forums and you either find a thread or start a thread that says, I will review your mission if you review mine, you will get bites. There's just, for people that say they don't have bites on their mission, like that's a surefire way to get a couple at least. So.
The other one I was thinking of ways to get your mission played is to participate in one of the challenges. Because, if you do that, your mission's gonna get played. I made one and it got, I don't even know what it got. I'm gonna look it up.
I was gonna say my first experience is probably, well actually no, the first mission I published was for Kirkfat's contest, so it had a small audience of just original series fans, and my first experience was not disheartening, but only because I knew there were a couple of people playing it. That being at least Kirkfat, who was judging the contest, and the other people that had entered that contest, I think. So that gave me the knowledge that, hey, at least someone is looking at this. And otherwise, I got very, very few plays on that mission. So I think that mission is still under 100 plays, was still under 100 plays when I pulled it to work on it. So that was, I guess, probably pretty typical, that I just didn't get very many plays on that first mission. And it was up for months and months and months to get 70 something number of plays. But like you say, the spotlight missions, I would say, or not the spotlights, but the contest missions, I would say it's almost like cheating to get your work out there.
But it's a good way.
Really,
I published a new
them.
mission and got 74 plays, at the moment. It's gonna drop off after the contest ends, of course, especially if you're not the winner, which I was not. But, it's a way to get it out there.
You're totally right. It is just like cheating. How many entries are there really in each, contest?
Right.
Like a dozen at the most?
In the one that I did, there was like 18. This last one, there's been a lot less.
Okay. Well, either way, 1 in 18 is still pretty good odds to get on the trick is to get on the spotlight tab, right? Cause then people see it first, they're gonna play it first, so,
My spotlight,
all new
is up at
authors,
around
you just
1,000, so.
Yeah, exactly. New authors, learn how to make a mission and submit your mission for one of the spotlight contests, and that is as far as chances go, the best opportunity for you to get people to play your mission.
Yeah.
And beyond that, of course, our usual methods of, start a forum thread, ask for reviews from people, ask for reviews from the various podcasts that are around. Come into the Starbase UGC chat. There's all kinds of people there, who will play missions if you ask. If you ask nicely, of course.
I think that would be my best advice, is be loud but not annoying.
There you go.
When it comes to getting your Foundry missions played. If you've written a Klingon mission, drop an email to the guys at Gates of Tovokor and ask them to play your mission. I look for people that enjoy playing Klingon content. Look for fleets that are looking for something new to do, and talk to people that you know that way, and also spread it on the forums. But don't do the, well, here's my mission, and then after a day or two, why has no one played my mission? And I've seen that a couple of times. It's not super prevalent, but that's what I mean by be loud but not annoying.
It's gonna take some time.
People will hear you. Like I said, I've got 17 missions to review. There's no way I'm going to get to 17 missions in a week. That's going to take me some time to review all of those and look them all over. So understand that, if someone were to ask me to review a mission today, they'd become number 18 on the list of missions that I'm going to review. So
yeah, I think Evil 70th, he does the in-depth text reviews. I think his queue is at least that long at the moment.
Yeah. So be loud but not annoying.
And don't be above spamming general chat or zone chat. Mm-hmm. I've done that. It happened. I got a couple plays out of it.
Yeah, I've kind of been hit or miss with the zone chat spam, but it's
I always do it where I get the message ready, and then I launch it, and then I immediately go to another zone. Just so I don't have to deal with the people that, are going to say, just stop spamming zone chatting.
I've actually never had anyone complain. But
I never stick around to hear the complaints.
It's not something that's very spammy, especially if you only say it once. If you say, hey, there's a new Foundry mission, if you guys want to play it, and that's it, and then you're on your way.
Like you said,
that's not very spammy. Yeah, loud.
Don't be a jerk about it. You'll be fine.
And also, take the feedback you get in stride. I mean, you're gonna run into people that may not like your mission. You just gotta kinda take it in stride and keep moving on. There might be some sort of feedback in the person that didn't like your mission that could make it better. You don't have to take it. You don't have to use it, but it might be there. And it might make the mission better, it might not.
Well, handling review feedback is a whole other can of worms.
That is true.
Well, any kind of artist has to develop a thick skin. Art is any kind of art, whether it's writing, music, movies, television, books, any kind of art is subjective. Some people will like it and some people won't.
Yeah.
I like thinking about myself as an artist.
You're a writer, of course you're an artist.
I'm gonna put that on my resume right now.
Well, what is it, I was listening to the commentary for Star Trek II, and it's Nicholas Meyer, the director. And he says, sometimes when I go through airports and I, go through customs and they want you to list your occupation, he said, sometimes I want to put storyteller instead of director. And it's like, well, okay, I guess that's all I want you to call it.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Master of intrigue.
Master of intrigue. Well, moving on. I had a topic that I came up with, in sort of a Twitter conversation, between Greendragoon and who else was talking with us?
Remind me which Twitter conversation this was.
Okay, well,
you guys tweet a lot.
I was gonna say we have a few of those.
We tweet when
they tweet
we're
a
probably
lot.
supposed
I
to be
press
working.
the happy little star button once in a while.
Well, this discussion, the impact of it was we wanted to talk about ways to make the player lose. Because the game is not really set up to have the player lose an engagement, in space or on the ground. Generally speaking, the player is always going to win when you put them in a combat situation. I mean, they may die once, but they'll respawn and it's back to shooting. So, we gotta come up with some creative ways because, dramatically, you're gonna want them to lose some battles here and there. So I thought I'd put that to you guys. I've got a couple ways that I've done it. But I wanted to see what you guys could come up with.
So is your question specific to battle?
It wouldn't have to be.
Because I'll say this. The mission that I am going to publish soon for the Romulan KDF, you're going to lose. You're going to, at the end, probably feel like you did not win. And I think that you accomplish things like that effectively through story and through dialogue, like the dialogue tab and not through combat. Because we don't, like you say, we don't have the ability to script in the player losing a combat in any way. If it's in space and they're losing, what does losing mean? Your starship being destroyed? Because we have no way to script it, I tried to move it into dialogue and storytelling rather than making the player's loss be contingent upon a combat. Make their loss be contingent upon a story choice or a plot point rather than a combat. Because we just don't have the tech to make them lose a combat. That's what I do.
Do we? I don't know. Rogue, you've got a mission I can think of off the top of my head. In fact, your Spotlight mission that you lose repeatedly.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that, based on the cause and effect episode where have you played that one? That Spotlight mission?
That is actually the very first Foundry mission that I ever played.
That's right.
Months over a year ago now.
Right.
It's the very first one I ever played.
It's an old one. But, you don't really lose, I lost the battle, my ship is destroyed, but I use it as a plot device to, just like the actual episode cause and effect does. Mm-hmm. So, but that involves again, you're not really losing the plot of the mission. Your crew is not lost. It's just
you essentially used the game mechanics to your advantage in doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Building in that respawn as an actual thing that happened rather than a gameplay thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You have to make it some kind of plot device. You can't just, there it's like a temporal anomaly. Or, I did it again in another mission, with Q where, you're fighting a historic battle that Starfleet lost. So your characters get killed and then you respawn in a different location. It's the same technical trick, just used in ground. So, but even there again, there's still a Q involved or a temporal anomaly involved. So I haven't successfully done it in plot yet, like you're saying, Hippie.
But you could do that for things like losing and then waking up in a cell, or I'm actually planning on making use of that trick to where you basically lose and then you wake up somewhere else.
You could totally do that.
If you put your respawn point somewhere, that would be really good.
Yeah. In fact, the map I'm working on, I've got it worked out so that just as you're getting to that final battle, you'll see the new respawn point unlocked, and you've just moved into range of that respawn point.
Yes, that's the way to do it. I said you can try. The mission I'm thinking of that I wrote is a Warren Q, and where I do that, so you can see technically how that's accomplished. But it's just exactly the same thing. You just move within range of the respawn point, and then kill the character with overwhelming odds, and then you're that's it.
Of course, the question is how many forces does it take to take down the player? Take down any player.
Actually, on ground it's a lot easier.
Depends on which player. There was one time I tried to kill Hippiejohn and he almost got out of it alive.
Almost.
Yeah, I still occasionally on first I'll get a review where they say I didn't die when I was supposed to or something, but they're just amazing players.
I'm planning on putting a little special dialogue if they manage to defeat the no-win scenario that says, "Congratulations, you broke the mission. Here's what you do to fix it."
That's a great idea.
I like that.
That one I was talking about is it kind of goes back to what you were saying, Hippiejohn, with the bridge in Realm's mission, where you would like some walls to keep people from jumping off because of course they will jump off. It just happens. Everybody,
I wouldn't. Yeah, no, I do. I jump off everything.
I think
I jumped out windows, in fact.
Woody Valley is another culprit in that regard.
I see people do the jumping off the bridge, where you put a bunch of mobs at the bottom, but you have to kind of think you have to think like a for reals, content designer, what are they gonna do? You have to anticipate people being dumb or doing crazy stuff. Mm-hmm. So you have to do the invisible walls, in my opinion, at least.
I have a little fun with it sometimes. What I do is I put a little guy at the bottom and call him QQ. And, when the player's boffs should be dead by the fall because the boffs will die. The player should be just about dead. They'll see this and they'll automatically go over and talk to him. That's just, ingrained into the players now. You see a little guy to talk to, you're gonna go talk to him. Probably even before waiting for your life to regenerate or hitting a heal or anything. And he spawns a whole crap load of captain level targs.
I almost got him.
Yeah.
Now that I'm a lifetime member and I have an Android, I think I could do it.
But anyway, I've got sort of a strategy that I've used in a mission that I have not published yet, where to make the player lose an engagement. What it is for that 5-part series that I always talk about, which currently is not published. I wanted to have a Klingon companion mission where you tell from the Klingon side, because at a certain point in the Fed ones, you go and enlist the aid of a Klingon and his fleet to help you. He ends up, engaging some Romulans and doing a self-sacrifice thing off camera. You don't see his heroic last stand, you just hear about it later. I wanted to tell that story from the Klingon side, but, obviously I had to make them lose that engagement. So what I did is, in space, you defeat one wave of the enemy, and then you get a message that says, more enemies are incoming. That takes you to that's a map transition. It takes you to the bridge of your Klingon ship. one that I actually built, and which I thought was pretty cool looking. And you get a message from the leader of this Klingon fleet. He tells you that, the odds are against you, and someone must escape to tell of your deeds, and to create songs of the glorious last stand of General Kevin. And so he orders you to get to a transporter pad and beam over to one of to another allied ship, a different race. And so while the enemy fleet is defeating your fleet, you're on your ship running through the corridors while everything's exploding around you, trying to get off the ship. And then you go to this other ship and you hear about, everybody's dead, we just barely escaped.
Yeah, that's only doing it through story.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose something else I was thinking of is like, how, you can't actually, die, but actually fail the mission. So if it's, to stop, Borg assimilating this, preserver archive or something, you could, do all this fighting, but you're just too late or something like that.
Yep, you just arrive and it's already all happened.
Yeah.
Captain, we were too late.
No!
There's only one solution to this is, we're going to need a new Foundry check that allows us to permanently kill player characters.
Yes.
Permanently
I love it.
I am not
Play this
perma-
Foundry mission,
permadeath.
suddenly your character's deleted.
So suddenly it's new Cap City. Nobody's going to catch that reference.
No, but actually was something I wanted to bring up though is, the concept of, forced into retreat, or basically where you use story to basically say, for some reason we have to retreat, or we can't engage in the fight that we know that we would win if we were actually allowed to engage in the fight. I mean, how do you in story
Klingons don't retreat.
Well, I mean, how do you in story
Advance in the opposite direction.
Force a stand down where it's like there's nothing in the Foundry short of massive amounts of ships that we can throw at a player to actually
To force a stand down, it's all story.
You have to do it in story.
If you need to force the player to stand down, you have to do that through story, or even if it's as unsubtle and sledgehammer-like as putting an officer who outranks him in the area on another ship or on a comm saying, "Get out of there." That's an order. That's an order.
I've done it using invisible walls. I've had a friendly
orders,
fleet engaging like an enemy fleet, and they say you need to go take out do this other task while we're fighting this losing battle against the bad guys. And the only way you can really make that believable, in my opinion, is to use the invisible walls, and then you come back and they've all been destroyed. So.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I had to put up I had to put up invisible walls in one of mine because the idea was you go around this nebula activating some old astrometric satellites that used to be used to study this nebula, and once you're done, it reveals a fleet inside. And I made the fleet all enemy vessels because I thought it'd be cool to suddenly this huge bunch of red contacts light up. Not realizing, of course, that there were, and I tried to make it so many ships that, nobody would want to go tangle with them. Well, somebody did.
Learn that the hard way.
I think it was Lord of Pitt. He decided to go tangle with him. And he actually beat him. It took him hours to beat him. Because he would go and he would get one and drag it off and out of range of the others. And so, you have to kind of try and anticipate what players are going to do to try and break your mission.
Yep. That comes in the QA phase. Playtest phase.
Well, let's see. I had another little topic. I was going to ask you guys, what do you think of the summer event so far?
Well, that's good because it leads to the topic that I realized that I had since we've been talking. I said I didn't have one before, but this will lead to it. I love the summer event. I think it's fun. I think there's so much good in it.
I'm in there right now dancing.
Really? I'm in there flying around on my red jetpack feeling
I'm standing
like
on a boardwalk admiring the view.
Rocket Boy. Yeah,
I've just been
kind of
50.
floating in the air while we've been talking. I haven't done anything. I've just been floating around in the air. And what I like about it is feels like Ryza. Once again, my immediate thought is the storytelling potential which exists with this map. And with these assets and the things that exist in Ryza, which thanks to Terry Lynn Shull, going to, I don't, whatever she's called online, edit out whatever I shouldn't call her. I don't.
Her name's out there. I mean,
her name's pretty
she
public.
uses it on a
that's
massively
what I figured. It's just,
so.
yeah. She went and talked to a lot of the people at Cryptic Studios and confirms that a lot of the assets are incoming to the Foundry directly out of the summer. A lot of the assets that we see in the summer event are coming into the Foundry. That the map itself is coming into the Foundry, and the thing that they are most working on before moving the map into regular rotation, as this is just the map that you beam down to when you go to Ryza now, is that there are a lot of missions out there that use the old Ryza and use the contacts and the interacts that were on the old social map. So that's what they're working on, and that to me makes the summer event even better. We're going to get assets and maps from this. Huzzah. I am joyous. Yeah, I am joyous. And it's fun. So it's a good way to kill a few hours. So,
Hippie, before we had started recording, you had mentioned you were complaining a little about, accolades.
Mm-hmm.
And about how there weren't any, from the shows, or reference back to the shows.
Oh yeah, right? Now, there's a ton of them here on Ryza. It's awesome. I found my first one by accident, of course. I think everyone probably found this, at least one of the throwbacks and the touchstones that they put on this map.
Did you get the onlooker one?
Yeah, I've got them. I've got all the accolades at this point, except for finding all the silly little birds. I don't much care about that.
Okay.
But I mean, there's a lot
I haven't got many of them yet.
Yeah, there's a lot of touchstones to Next Generation and Deep Space Nine here, so it's all fun. I mean, it's to me the best part is that we're getting it in the Foundry.
That's really encouraging news.
Yeah, even if it's just the map and none of the assets, I'd be happy. Even if it's just a bunch of the assets and it takes them a while to get the map in there, I'd be happy. Because this map is so much fun, and the stuff that we could do with it. Yeah.
Well,
I really want swimming tech now.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Hey, we got flying.
Swimwear.
I want the wave.
And that's it.
We need a wave pool or something.
Talking about tech, that's why I love this map. It actually has nothing to do with the dancing or the flying through the hoops and getting in. I'm going to enjoy my Corvette when I get it. I'm going to enjoy the flying around this map because it's neat. But it's really what it is. It's the tech that's been added here, because you have we now have jetpacks that we know, floaters that we know. They can limit to a specific map. So in upcoming story content, it's entirely possible that they could make an episode where we have to use a jetpack, where we have to use any of these are great ways to introduce this new tech. Things, to me, it's great for that reason.
Well, the reason I brought it up is because of a discussion that took place this morning on the forums. You can ask Captain Revo about it, because he kind of got into it with a guy on the forums.
Please. Sorry.
Which he does sometimes. But what essentially this thread is it was requesting that we be allowed to use jetpacks in more places in the game. I think, the suggestions were like New Romulus, places where there's a lot of ground to cover.
Of course.
Which I don't necessarily think is unreasonable in itself, but I would rather they not. I think it would just be totally
unreasonable.
breaking.
Tumor Boy would say that it's unreasonable.
Yeah, I don't know.
Technically, they would have to rebuild the maps, obviously.
They wouldn't just.
And I would not want them to have to do that.
They would have to completely re-artistry the maps. Tumor
It's
Boy
like
would have to go in and make a completely new map because
I'm sure there's lots of things that don't have, assets that don't have a top on them.
Exactly.
That are transparent. That edge of the thing is transparent, doesn't have a texture, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same problem that WoW ran into with the flying mounts. They had to totally redo.
It took them a huge expansion to open up the rest of the game to flying mounts.
What I would say to anybody who wants to have jetpacks in more places in the game would be patience. We have jetpacks. How much fun is it to fly around in jetpacks right now? Don't already start whining and complaining, sorry, to anyone who feels like I'm talking to them specifically. Don't start whining and complaining already about, I want to be able to do it someplace else. Enjoy the fact that we have freaking jetpacks to fly around on. And know that because we can do that now, in 3 months when they release another new random story episode, maybe when they release the Captain Proton episode that I hope they're going to make someday. All of this new tech is going to get used again. They don't create new tech to leave it sit on a shelf and never get used. Even if they only revisit a map like Utopia Planitia once a year, but then they throw it into the Foundry so other people can revisit it and use it. This tech is going to be out there.
And Tumor Boy is aware of the Captain Proton idea. I hadn't made that connection until now.
That was the first thing that occurred to me. We have a jetpack. We can do a Flash Gordon-y type of thing, which is, of course, my favorite type of superhero, or rather not superhero sci-fi genre is the, person lost in an unfamiliar, unknown place kind of thing.
That's the whole. Can't get Robert Duncan McNeil for it.
I know, right? Well, maybe they can. Who knows?
Voiceover, yay! Tom Paris.
Hey, the more voice actors they can get from the shows, the better.
I would say so.
But what happened to me in this thread is that I jumped in, ignoring all of the people yelling at each other, and suggested that we be allowed to designate maps to use jetpacks on in the Foundry.
I like it.
And that suggestion got completely overrun. Nobody commented on it or nothing. It just got completely overrun by Captain Revo and this guy arguing back and forth. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
My feeling on that is that it would be kind of cool, but it would be very situational, and I can think of a ton of more other tech that would be much more useful.
There's a lot of things that if we could give maps conditionals, like this map is a shuttle only map. This map requires an EV suit. This map requires jetpacks. Like there's a lot of those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
But
this map you only been down one bridge officer or none or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be nice to get all kinds of conditionals.
Yeah.
But I can imagine that's a lot. Like I can imagine there's a lot of programming. Yeah. That it's the kind of work I can't even imagine.
That's a lot of the things too, is that, we speculate on what we think it'll take to do something, and, but we really don't know.
True.
Make a thread on the forums. I'll post in it.
I think one thing you mentioned, Greendragoon, is that you would probably, have a lot of broken missions, or missions that couldn't be completed because people didn't bring a jetpack with them.
Well,
which you're probably right.
Right now, the floaters are a special reward for doing the summer event. You got the cheapo loaner, which goes away after, about
10
15 minutes?
10 or 15, I'm not sure.
And unless you've consciously gone out and spent some money to get a more permanent one.
It was easy.
Yeah, it wasn't that hard, but what about someone who comes in after the summer event's over?
Right.
And no longer has a way to get a jetpack. It's not like the EV suit where they're everywhere, and it's not that.
Very true. Of course, we don't necessarily know that they won't put something in game permanently eventually where you can go. If they're gonna have this map in game, it may not be right when the summer event ends, but if they're gonna have this map in game more, they're gonna have to have some sort of permanent thing there to get a jetpack.
They'll probably make it at dilithium cost, to be quite honest, after the summer event. They'll attach a cost to it that can be monetized. I'm not.
Yeah, it'll be like
about
EV
that.
suits, and you can just buy them off the exchange.
Or they might
Maybe.
come up with a really cool looking one and put it up for a ridiculous price.
Yeah, they
have
could.
Because that
Character,
went so well.
for character only.
Okay, if they made a Captain Proton episode that had an optional Z Store Zen possibility to buy a whole like Captain Proton costume pack that included a skin for my jetpack, I'd be all over it, and I bet a bunch of people would. They could sell lots of different skins for jetpacks.
Hear that, Cryptic? We can make you some money. Listen to our ideas. But I don't know. I still think it would open up a lot of fun stuff in the Foundry. I mean, you could have like jetpack races and stuff. I mean, you could have all kinds of race courses and just different things. You could have like space jumps, like from the new Star Trek movies.
Yeah, that was one of the first thoughts that I had when I saw how these jetpacks were working was we can probably expect them to do something cool like flying through space on these in some kind of EV suit sort of thing. Maybe not next month, but I think something like that is coming.
Maybe eventually. All right, who's got another topic for us?
Mine was that we have some Foundry news because somebody went and visited Cryptic.
Why don't you go through and kind of summarize?
What I'm trying to remember, I'll have to think about what it was. All of it was that the most important thing to me, of course, that I'm remembering was about the fact that we were getting a ton of these assets, or we were getting maybe not a ton, but we were getting assets and the map from Ryza, which made me really happy because, like I said, it feels like Ryza, whereas the old map doesn't. What else? Was the idea that there isn't so much a Foundry team, that there is, I would say go listen to the podcast, actually go listen to their podcast, because Terry talks about it at length and explains it far better than anybody trying to explain what she explained could. But there's not so much a Foundry team as there is a core team of coders and programmers who work on the core systems of the game, of which the Foundry is one of those core systems. So there's not so much a Foundry, like a specific Foundry team or specific Foundry developers, more there's a team of these core people that work on the core mechanics and game design. I don't go listen to what she has to say about it.
Well, these would be the same people who got us our character swapping ability.
Yeah.
Well, so. and it's one of those things that I think we've been fairly clear on that point at least, since we were told that the team that developed the Foundry, or at least this is what I recall, that the team that developed the Foundry moved to Neverwinter.
Mm-hmm.
They moved games. They were not with the Stowe team
right.
anymore. So I mean, we kind of knew that we didn't have a team. It's just whatever. If somebody decided to work on the Foundry, it was some in their free time or after another project was done.
So what I got from listening to what Terry had to say was that there just isn't, and there's not a Foundry team anywhere. There's just a core team, and they work on all of that core stuff.
Really, I mean, it boils down to priority. I mean,
yeah.
Cryptic at any given time will have a set of primary goal or projects, which are on the schedule, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that isn't on the schedule is backburner projects, and these are worked on in the extra time.
Right.
And so at the moment, well, I shouldn't say that, because in theory, I assume we should be getting some time for all this Neverwinter porting over that's supposed to take place.
We hope.
We hope.
I mean, at the very least, I mean, they're thinking about it. I don't know if it'll get schedule time. I mean, schedule time is usually reserved for actual content.
But it's sort of one of those things where nobody's there's no team dedicated to it, so it's another programmer has to somebody has to say, okay, you do this.
But I mean, it makes sense because I mean, Cryptic, despite and what did she say, or Terry say they were up to 50 or close to it, just under 50?
Yeah, 40 or 50. She said that the last time she was there, the offices were maybe, 3/4 full, and now they're just full to bursting. People are in other parts of the building and such.
Stowe is taking over, although.
Yeah.
I can imagine an epic battle breaking out between Stowe and Neverwinter. Over office space.
Stowe would win. We have phasers.
There was a thing she
They've
said.
got magic.
There was a thing she said that was really encouraging, though. She talked to a lot of people while she was there. The art team. She talked to Kestrel. She talked to Dan Stahl. She talked to a whole bunch of folks, and what she came away with it saying was that the Foundry is on people's mind.
Yeah. And I've always got the impression
that is very reassuring.
I've always got the impression that even when the team was focused so heavily on Legacy of Romulus and they had no time to think about anything else, that they still pay attention to the Foundry. I mean, we hear a number of devs talk about liking to play Foundry missions, or waiting to see what the Foundry authors come up with next. So even when it's not a major project, I think what we get is a result of attention that devs do pay attention.
Yeah. A lot of people feel, and I hear, maybe not as much anymore, but I have heard a lot of the devs don't pay attention, et cetera, et cetera. I don't feel that from the dev team. I really feel like maybe it's all zero because it's all original series assets. I'm just kidding, of course, but we've been getting a lot of really cool things.
Hey,
I know some of
stacks of Latinum.
I know some of it is zero. I know some of it is H2O rat, getting the Tholian contacts in and things like that. But we're not ignored in the Foundry.
No.
We're just not a high priority, and that's really okay. I'm okay with that.
But it's like I always say, just because we are not a high priority this month doesn't mean we won't be next month.
Or next, the one after that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
At some point, they'll put it on the schedule, if they haven't already. It's just not going to happen when we want it to happen.
No, I mean,
yeah,
like
we
I
want
said,
it to happen tomorrow.
This latest, Dan talking about the coding team starting to look at porting over stuff. I mean, it suggests that it's more than just coders finding a bit of extra time in their schedule. It sounds like,
yeah, it's an
Dan
actual
said,
scheduled,
hey, go look and
effort.
see what we can port over from this.
All it takes is a word from the big guy and stuff happens.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many concerns in Stowe other than just the Foundry.
Yeah, this is a gigantic game. I don't think people give it enough credit for being as big a game as it really is.
People tend to get tunnel vision onto their thing. I mean, that was kind of what was happening with that one guy with the scimitar threads all over the forum.
Yeah.
That was major tunnel vision.
Yeah, that was the only thing that was important to that guy. And a lot of times it feels like Foundry is the only thing that's important to me. But I accept that there's a lot of other pieces of this game that people have a lot of fun with, and I like to see them all get some attention.
Sure.
By the way, did you guys read that dev blog today about the episode development process?
I was going to mention that.
It.
That is a great dev blog.
That was really fun.
That's something that they're doing now, like in place of the Ask Cryptics. They're going to do some more of these that are very specialized and talking about behind the scenes kind of stuff, which I thought was really cool. And actually very similar to how I build Foundry missions.
Subjects.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just the funny, seeing them draw out that one map from the Borg interior map
with the
sphere cut
out, yeah.
But I mean, I totally do the same thing. I mean, you can't actually see it, but I'm holding up right now a map I drew out of this very complex custom interior I've been working on.
Yeah, I've been known to sketch out a couple maps, floor layouts.
But yeah, I mean, it's really almost shocking how, and I guess it shouldn't be, but it's really shocking how similar the process of being a Foundry author, which, I mean, we all kind of figure out on our own, is to how the Cryptic develops a mission. Obviously, they have a lot more people involved, but
and a lot more tools. That was also an interesting piece of that dev blog to me was Goat Shark saying he basically just confirmed, he's like, our tools, which are nothing like what you guys have in the Foundry.
No, if they were like,
which we've been told many times, in which we've had to repeat many times to other people, because they just don't quite understand that.
If we had the dev tools, there would only be a fraction of us that could actually use it.
Right. We wouldn't understand it. We have to have these, we have to have these simpler interfaces. It's just an absolute requirement.
Well, Bazag or Rogue, you got a topic for us to discuss?
Not really for me.
I don't know. I think you guys have covered a lot of ground with all the recent news, so.
Oh, come on.
Come on, you're supposed to have a topic.
There was no briefing before we came on the show.
Really? Did you not get the memo?
No, there was no memo.
I don't believe in memos.
There was a memo. I sent it by OWL. Obviously, it hasn't gotten there yet.
Oh, is that what that's coming towards me?
You do know that's the wrong IP, you know. Mail by OWL.
We'll tear down walls, peace between all of the IPs, Star Wars, Harry Potter.
What are the names of those new Ryzian birds?
Depends on which one you get. I have a grotto glider and a dusk wing thing. I don't remember what it was called. They all have really cool little names.
I sent mine into a DOF mission, so I don't know.
Yeah, mine's in a DOF mission now, waiting.
As you say, Hippie, I think you said on the last podcast how there are any number of references to other IPs in this game already.
Oh yeah.
Like Champions is worse.
Well, I guess that would be a good place to end.
That would. It's going to be a shorter than normal show.
Shorter than normal, but that's okay. Those are good too. So, we'll,
we need to give the audience some break occasionally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something to do besides listen to us talk.
Yeah, go party on Ryza. It's kind of fun. Don't spend all day there. Do other things.
Go play Foundry missions.
Go play Foundry missions.
Yeah, go play all my missions, you know, yo.
Bazag, of course, is absolutely shameless in his promotion of his missions.
You know,
loud, but...
Getting plays are good. Getting feedback is better. Like I said before, if you have there's just the one dude on the missions that's like, I like your missions, but, authors really love to hear feedback. So you play any of mine, you play any of the host's missions, you play any of Baz's missions, send us a note. We love to hear what you think of them, how you broke them, whatever. Send us mail.
Yeah, especially how you broke them.
Yeah.
Because then we can fix it.
Yes, totally. Don't just be mad that you played a broken Foundry mission. Usually we like to go fix it.
Tell us how to fix it.
Yeah.
One of the best things that could have happened to me was getting Idrona to play one of my missions.
And watching the playthrough.
Just watching the playthrough. I mean, just because you can see all of the ways that it goes through, and all of the things you didn't think someone would do. That's like, oh, well, I should probably do a little hedging against that.
Yeah, my mission actually broke on live broadcast when it was being played by Broadcast UGC. Isn't that right, Baz?
Yeah.
It was my mission over there, which I did not anticipate people playing as a team. And there was a bug where when you went back to a social map, if not everybody talked to the contact, their mission objectives would not progress. But they could keep piggybacking along with the mission of the person who did talk to that contact. So they got to the end and only one person in the team could finish it.
Is that an objective contact talking thing?
Yeah, so talk to NPC contact on
Starfleet Academy.
On a social map.
You went to him first and talked to him. Then you went in a door down the hall to a custom map. Then I had you come back out to the social map and talk to the same guy.
Yeah, coming in and out of social maps can break stuff.
It certainly
I found
can.
that out the hard way.
Which, by the way, would not hurt my feelings at all if broadcast UGC made a return.
Indeed.
Yeah, I really do want to get it back going up, but I just don't have the upload capacity to stream it.
That can be an issue. I know that I've tried to do live streaming video a few times and with varying degrees of success.
Well, you need to find someone who does.
Yeah.
We need to get Galactrix out of the secret world, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
Wasn't there a plot to kill all of his avatars across dimensions or something?
Permanent
I think
death.
we're reaching that good time to say goodnight.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing else can come out of this conversation.
Move along. Nothing to see here. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.